Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. What a day to be in a national park. Yes. Welcome to all of you. My name is Chris Leonards. I'm the Chief Executive Officer of the Golden Gate National Parks Conservancy. And we're here today to celebrate so many things, one of which is this beautiful park, the Presidio Tunnel Tops, which is in its first quarter of the year of being. And the National Park Service, the Presidio Trust, and the Parks Conservancy were so proud to get together and create this special place. I want you to be welcome here today, and maybe you can take some time when we wrap up to take a good look around. One of the things that the Parks Conservancy, the Presidio Trust, and the National Park Service did was work at the beginning of this process to create a land acknowledgement. So I'd like to read that for all of us now. We are standing in the traditional territory of the Yelamu, a local tribe of the Ramaytush Ohlone peoples of the San Francisco Peninsula. The Yelamu understood the interconnectedness of all things and maintained harmony with nature for millennia. Beginning in the 18th century, Spanish, Mexican, and American colonization displaced and eradicated native peoples across California, including the Yelamu. However, a few other Ramaytush Ohlone families did survive. Today, they maintain a strong cultural and spiritual connection to their ancestral homeland, seeking to fulfill their responsibilities as stewards. Let this land acknowledgement stand as a commitment to honoring the original peoples of this land and to uncovering the truths of the past that shape our present and our future. I would like to call your attention to a very special leader from our community, Fabiana Rodriguez, who has been touring some of our folks here to learn about ancestral futurism and art installation that's here on the Presidio Tunnel Tops. Fabiana, thank you so much. And I want to take just one moment and tell you about something that I think is incredibly special here in National Park in an urban setting. And that is the intersections that exist among things. The things that you can do in a place like this have deep connection, and they are certainly moving and inspiring when you think of a national park. If there were a bridge behind me, we would see it now. And like all national parks, when you see something grand and special, it makes you think about the importance of your own life and the contributions. The views from here, the opportunity here, like national parks across the country, are moving and inspiring. But in this place, the intersections are even stronger. For over 20 years, the Parks Conservancy has had a long-standing youth education and leadership program. In that place, young people from across the Bay Area begin to feel they can access public lands. They can develop a feeling of belonging. They can respect one another by leading to solve climate change with action, not with worrying hands. They also have a connection to their future here. 86% of those young people say they will always be connected now to national parks. 80% of the young people who have gone through this program have taken up post-secondary education. That means jobs, and that means green jobs. Most of those are conservation related. You're going to hear about these themes today. It's exciting, it's wonderful to have our leaders here to speak to us, and it is my very big honor to introduce a brave and courageous woman, Mayor London Breed.
Well, let me tell you, I am so happy to be here. This is one of the most beautiful locations anywhere in our city. And I am not just the only welcoming committee here. Other San Franciscans wanted to join us here today to welcome each and every one of you. And to our governor, welcome home. How cool is this to be at this location at this time to really celebrate the Pacific Coast Collaborative, a commitment to our future, a commitment to our planet and the needs of what we need to commit to in terms of climate change. And I gotta say, I'm really proud of what San Francisco is doing. And I was just talking to Governor Newsom about the big uproar when he was mayor, when he implemented the composting policy of San Francisco. And when you think about it, look how far we've come. we have this really incredible climate action plan. And in San Francisco, it's not just a plan. We're putting this plan into real action. For the first time, we broke ground on a building at the corner of Market and Van Ness, the first of its kind, all-electric building consisting of office space and residential use. It's going to be extraordinary and a game changer, climate into action. We've made commitments to the residents of this city to use all renewable electricity by 2025, and we are well on our way to doing just that. And our goal of getting to net zero emissions by 2040 is well on its way. And Governor, I know the state of California is 2045, but don't worry. We know your heart is in the right place. But at the end of the day, I think what's great about the governors of Oregon, Washington, and the premier of the British Columbia and our great governor is that they deeply care about what we need to do for future generations. We can't just enjoy our lives and go about our business and leave this planet worse off than it was. It is our responsibilities as stewards to not only be the leaders in climate change, but to make sure that we are teaching the next generation and we are implementing policies that make it easier to be better stewards. I was walking and looking along this beautiful bay and you know, the Golden Gate Bridge will make an appearance maybe later on this year, and I was just in awe of the number of birds and the number of pelicans and other just life as we know it. And the way that this feels out here right now is an example of climate action at its best and really changing the world and changing the future. And how we make that so is incredible leaders like the ones we have today, signing the Pacific Coast Collaborative to recommit ourselves to the future of this particular region of the world, but to set an example for others to follow. So it is my honor to welcome you all here to San Francisco. We hope you not only take this signature ceremony as a moment to enjoy San Francisco, we hope you go out to our restaurants and shopping, and this weekend, Fleet Week and the Blue Angels and our Italian Heritage Parade, and there's so many activities going on in San Francisco. So thank you all so much for coming and your commitment to the future of our planet, and thank you all for so many of you who are here who are real leaders in this effort. We got a lot of work to do, but today gives me hope for the future. Thank you all so much. And with that, I'd like to introduce the Premier of the British Columbia, Governor Inslee. Oh, wait, did I say the right? Oh, no, Governor, the Premier Horgan.
Thank you.
I just met them all, okay?
That's okay. Thank you very much, Jay. I didn't know you had aspirations going north, but it's great to be here today with all of you on Yalumu traditional territories. I want to acknowledge that as well. I come from British Columbia, a territory north of Jay Inslee's traditional territory, where there are 203 distinct indigenous groups. And we have recently passed the Declaration Act in our legislature, introducing the UN Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples so that we can turn back some of the injustices of colonialism and build a society that includes everyone. I'm very proud to be in a city like yours, Mayor Breed, where that is the way you do business each and every day. So thank you for your progressive leadership and that of previous mayors who have come through this territory. With respect to the fog, I don't know how you do it here, but it's a federal responsibility in Canada, so I won't hold you responsible for that, Gavin. And to Governor Brown and Governor Inslee, it's always great to be with you to talk about the things that we have in common. Oftentimes we talk about the issues that divide us as people in communities, but today, and throughout the time that we've had the Pacific Coast Collaborative, we've talked about the values that unite us. They are not distinguished by jurisdictions, they're not distinguished by artificial boundaries, but by the values that we carry in our hearts, that we've been taught by our parents, and we've been taught by our educators, that we've been taught by the people that we represent. That if we can't come together to address the challenges of our time, how can we expect them to follow? And it's not about leadership that just says blindly, this is where we're going. It's about leadership that's developed by listening to people, Indigenous people, people of color, people who are marginalized in our society today, and saying, how do we lift everyone up as we address this most crucial challenge that all of us face, regardless of our gender, our orientation, or where we live. And nowhere are those effects more profound than they have been here on the West Coast. We've had fires that have been unprecedented. A community called Lytton in my town, in my province, no longer exists because of wildfires. We had atmospheric rivers, we had heat domes, terms that we'd never heard of before that have had a profound impact on our people, on our economy, and our way of life. And in order to address those challenges, we have to collaborate. We have to work together. Nations, subnational jurisdictions, all of us, people of the world have to come together. And in order to do that, we have to have leadership. And I want to commend Governor Newsom and the work that's been done here in California. Before we came out today to see the beautiful Presidio and learn about the importance of arts and culture and lifting us all up and setting us on a course to ensure that the next generation understands that in our core, we are creative people and we learn from our arts, we learn from our culture, we learn from our traditions. But before we came out, we were talking together about how do we make that shift as province, as states, as nations, as people of the world. And we do that by listening to each other. We do that by looking at the tangible evidence. Communities gone, fires unprecedented, salmon disappearing in large numbers, species being eradicated or extirpated. That's on a board I have in my office. I'm not allowed to say extirpated, but I'm out of the state or out of the province, so I'm happy to say extirpated here today. And you can Google that if you don't know what I'm talking about. It's the Queen's English, or now the King's English, I suppose. But in British Columbia, we've established a program called Clean BC, and we did that by looking at what's happening around the world. We stole best practices, and we started right here in California with the low carbon fuel standard, which is the biggest individual thing that we could do to reduce emissions with respect to our transportation sector. When it comes to housing, we're looking at retrofitting, not just personal dwellings, but our industries, our manufacturing sector, and of course, energy. British Columbia is blessed with an abundance of hydroelectricity that, of course, ravaged complete valleys and displaced populations as they were being built. But now, 50, 60 years later, that clean, green energy is the backbone of all of the alternatives that we're bringing forward, be it wind, solar, and other technologies. We have that advantage here on the West Coast. We're very happy to share that with our brothers and sisters south of the border and indeed around the world. And it's that innovation, working with people from every corner of the planet, that will get us to where we need to be. We talked about zero-emission vehicles. We set targets for 2025 that we surpassed in 2021. There are more, yeah, there you go. Clap for Horgan, that's great. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. But we set targets for zero-emission vehicles for 2025, and we surpassed them last year. And we talked about the importance of setting those targets, whether it's 2045 or 2040 for net zero. We have to have those targets so we've got something to achieve. But when we surpass them, we need to set new targets and new aspirations and new goals for our society. Leadership comes from the ground up. It's all about making sure we're listening to the people that we represent, implementing the programs that they believe will help them and their families get to a better place. So that's why we're going to be signing an agreement today that's going to talk about equity, that's going to talk about adaptation, and it's going to talk about a future that includes everybody. Thank you very much for having me here. I look forward to the rest of the day. And with that, I want to introduce a friend of mine who I didn't know had aspirations for moving north. He has a hockey team now, so he doesn't have to be a Vancouver Canuck fan, but the Calamari, as I affectionately call them, are going to be a hockey team one year or the other, maybe next year, maybe the year after that. Ladies and gentlemen, Jay Inslee.
Premier Horgan, #1 trash talker on the West Coast, I have to tell you. I do want to ask the crowd to acknowledge John's leadership. I've been at this climate thing for a couple decades, and I know people all around the world, just got back from the Nordic countries. And of all the northern latitude leaders in the world today, no one has been more successful than John Horgan, and I hope you'll give him a round of applause. It's just been fantastic what he has done. Thanks for what you're doing, John. I was thinking about what to say the other day. I was sitting out having coffee in the morning watching the sun come up through the smoke, and I have a view of Mount Rainier, our beautiful mountain, which wasn't there that day behind the smoke. And I was thinking about what to say about our current situation on the Pacific Coast. Here's my fundamental message. These four leaders you're hearing for today, we have watched, we have smelled, we have suffered through the smoke. We understand what it's doing to our communities. We understand what it's doing to the health of our children. We understand its economic disadvantage to our economies. But fundamentally, we are leaders, and we are three states and one province who can see through the smoke. And that's what we're here today to do, which is to see through the smoke, to see a clean energy economy which we can build on the Pacific Coast. And there's four reasons why we are today reinvigorating that effort to see through the smoke. Number one, the Pacific Coast leads on virtually everything in social and economic development. And we are yet again leading the world and the nation when it comes to the development of a clean energy economy. And we are so thrilled by the progress that the federal government has made. I want to give a big shout out to President Joe Biden, who's led a tremendous climate effort federally. But we in the Pacific Coast know that we can pedal faster, and that's why all of these four jurisdictions have numerous efforts which are going to lead the United States for the next steps after this bill that Congress has passed, because we understand the success. Our cap and trade bills, our low carbon fuel standards, our subsidies for incentivizing access to electric vehicles. We are going to lead to continue to the next steps nationally, because you know what? That's what the Pacific Coast does. We lead. Second, we are leading because we have demonstrated this is not just a commitment to our children and our grandchildren. It is the best economic development strategy on the earth today, because we understand the best economic prospects is to build a clean energy economy, to put people to work building silicon anode batteries in Moses Lake, to put people to work in solar cells in Bellingham and California and British Columbia. We're building jobs. That's why we're leading in the Pacific Coast. We fundamentally understand that. The third concept is we understand that our nation has a deficit of equity, big time. And when you think of the strategies to bring a more just society, a more equitable society, a society where everyone's got a shot, it's by building a clean energy economy. And we are doing that big time in the Pacific Coast. We're doing it by, we're particularly proud of our cap and invest bill, which makes a commitment of 35 or 40% to overburdened communities, of 10% to tribal communities, and every state has their own version of that commitment to equity. And the fourth principle of our leadership is working together. And I really can't think of another instance in American history where four provinces, and including two nations, have worked together better. And we are making that happen in building an electric charging corridor up and down I-5, in encouraging the implementation and hopefully the merging of our markets in the cap and invest system, which can make it more efficient. All the way for years we're doing this. This decision we're making out is going to ramp up this effort. So hats off to all involved. Hats off to California leadership. Gavin, you were doing spectacular work. I really appreciate it. Mayor Breed, your leadership is commented on up and down the Pacific Coast. I want to thank Jerry Brown, who helped it early in my administration effort as well. So thanks to all these leaders I get to work with. Now, I do want to introduce a tremendous leader in the Pacific Coast, Governor Kate Brown. And Governor Kate Brown has been a super leader. We have poached some ideas from her on the cap and invest bill, and we now claim ours is the best, but it comes from Oregon to some degree. So give it up for a great Oregon Duck and Beaver fan. Governor Kate Brown has done great work.
Them's fighting words. Yeah. Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. I am so delighted to be with all of you today in this absolutely gorgeous setting. Thank you, thank you, thank you. pleased to join my colleagues and champions for climate change. Thank you, Premier Horgan, Governor Inslee, and Governor Newsom. Thank you so much for your extraordinary leadership. Give them a round of applause. And Mayor Breed, you are truly leading the West Coast. Thank you for your extraordinary leadership. We are so proud of you. Keep it up, keep it going. You go, girl. We all know that the consequences of climate change can't be denied and they cannot be ignored. We are certainly feeling the impacts of climate change every single day in our communities across the West Coast. And in Oregon, we're experiencing hotter and more severe wildfires, extreme heat, and unprecedented winter storms. And in the last couple of years, we have seen damages to our ocean ecosystem, flooding, extreme hailstorms, and on top of all that, drought. I know, and the reason why I'm here today is that by working together, we absolutely can make change. The West Coast, the left coast, the best coast, whatever you want to call us, we can lead the nation, and working with British Columbia, the continent, and I believe the world, by coordinating our efforts and linking actions at the regional levels. Collectively, we can harness the power and ingenuity of our local communities, our businesses, and our state and local governments. Despite Oregon's relatively small size, our state is absolutely making great strides in adapting to and mitigating the impacts of climate change, while centering our communities of color, our rural communities, and our low-income families. These communities have been hardest hit. They are disproportionately impacted by climate change. And at the same time, we're preparing Oregon for the clean energy economy of the future. Our timelines are 100% clean energy by 2040, one of the most ambitious in the entire nation. And we were the first state in the nation to pass our coal to clean legislation, with our last coal plant being demolished this summer. Let's give a round of applause to Oregon. And while, as I've seen driving around San Francisco, we don't have as many EVs as San Francisco, we have hit our goal of putting 50,000 electric vehicles on Oregon roads. But most importantly, we did it by centering equity to make sure that EVs are accessible to everyone. We're providing EV rebates for people with low incomes and providing EV rebates for used EV purchases, the first state in the country to do so. And of course, Congress followed our lead by including tax credits for used EVs in the Inflation Reduction Act. So yay Oregon and yay Congress. But we are following California in another measure. We are developing our own advanced Clean Cars 2 regulation to move to 100% zero emissions new vehicles by 2035. But I believe truly that we have made this incredible progress thanks to the strong partnerships we've built between the public, the private, and the nonprofit sectors. This progress would not have been possible without the collaboration we have had with our neighboring West Coast states and province for the past couple of decades. Through the PCC, we are demonstrating that regional collaboration does make a difference. We're demonstrating that we are much more powerful and impactful working together than when we're working alone. And together, I know that we can meet the challenges of climate change because we know that growing our economy and protecting our planet are not mutually exclusive goals. Rather, they are moral imperatives. Future generations will judge us not on the fact of climate change, but what we've done to tackle it. I am so proud to stand with my colleagues here today as we make continued progress toward a climate resilient future. And with that, I am so honored and so thrilled to turn it over to an amazing leader, honestly, not only for the state of California, but the entire United States of America. Please welcome your very own governor, Governor Newsom.
Thank you, Governor. Well, first of all, it's wonderful to be back, see so many familiar faces, members of the Presidio Trust Board. But I'm very humbled to see so many remarkable leaders assembled here today on the issue that unites all of us, not just here on the West Coast, but around the rest of the globe. This sort of great awakening, this recognition that, something's happened to the plummet of the world. The extreme heat, extreme drought, the extreme weather that we have all experienced as a whipsaw back and forth. Of course, less than a month ago in California, we were this close to turning off the lights, stretched to a degree we've never been stretched before, 52,000 megawatts of use on September 6th. 10 days of a heat dome, likes of which we couldn't even imagine. The worst case scenario, we had put up new strategies and modeling just 2 years ago. And never in our wildest imagination, just 2 years ago, do we imagine a 10-day heat dome like we experienced last month. 124-degree temperatures in September in the state of California. So we're all being stretched. Our mind is being stretched in terms of the challenges, but also the opportunities. And I guess that's really the point I want to reinforce briefly as I ask everybody to come up and we update our 2016 Pacific Coast Collaborative Agreement. And that is collaboration, inspiration. The realities that present themselves present opportunities that we recognize we have to reconcile. And we also recognize with humility we don't have all the answers. And so we seek to share best practices. We seek to compete. I think you heard that from jurisdiction to jurisdiction with one another, but in an enlightened sense. That competition has brought us to where we are today with this collaborative. We're in the how business. Everybody, a lot of folks are talking about things. A lot of folks are putting fancy plans together. Everybody's jumping over saying, well, I've got this or I got that. These folks are doing the real work. And that's hard. It's just stubborn. To reach these goals, no one should, sugarcoat the challenges that present themselves. But, Jay said it beautifully. This is not about electric power. This is about economic power. This is about dominating the next big global industry. We were just talking, Kate and others, about electric vehicles. That's $1 trillion industry and opportunity. I mean, we're not going to cede that to other jurisdictions, other parts of this country and globe. We want to dominate that. I'm proud last year we hit 16% of all the new vehicle purchases. 16 already are all electric vehicles. We're going to all skate together, which is not bad, but we're just winding up, right? We're all going to get there just the next few years. It's around the corner, 2035. Governor Inslee and others and John were saying, well, I'm not even sure we're going to need to wait to 2035. The industry knows where the puck's going. Consumers are all there. I mean, what more evidence do you need? OPEC Plus? Really? We have to worry about something called OPEC Plus deciding to game a system in the last 24 hours to increase costs of gas and increase your stress levels, to impact domestic, not just foreign policy, with respect to petro-dictators that don't have your interests at heart, seem more interested in Putin than they do in terms of Western democracies. I mean, we're as dumb as we want to be. All these folks, By the way, Mayor, eat your heart out, Fox News. This is San Francisco crack up, really? Tucker Carlson, These guys every single night doubling down on stupid, trying to make the case for subsidizing the very problem we're all trying to solve for. Up in British Columbia, Linton's wiped off the map. I mean, we had Grizzly Flats. You remember it? It's gone. Greenville, paradise, lifestyles, tradition, places. I mean, it's not about CO2. It's about something much richer, much deeper. How many of us were, we've all had the privilege, memories. Grandfather, mom, dad may have taken you to Yosemite. Was shut down twice this year because of wildfires. Lost 20% of our sequoias in just a few years. 20% in just a couple years. What more evidence do you need? This mega drought over the western United States, Lake Mead, Powell, all of us fighting over each other what we're going to do with just the Colorado River basin. The challenges we're all facing here as we enter now in the 4th year of our drought. Water year just ended, October 1st. 4th year. By the way, that would put us 8 out of 11 years we've been in extreme drought. 8 out of 11 years. So is that the exception or is that the new normal? So we have to do things radically differently, and that's the spirit that defines this agreement, a spirit of collaboration, cooperation. Yes, in the vernacular, as John and Jay were jawing at each other with sports, in the vernacular of the West Coast offense. Some we know well here, Bill Walsh, the San Francisco 49ers. But it's the West Coast offense, not defense, where America's coming attraction. The world's coming attraction. Province up north. We're showing how it can be done. Success leaves clues. We're not asserting, we're proving. 6 times more clean energy jobs today in California than fossil fuel jobs. 6 times already. We're just winding up. So, I'm excited about this. I'm proud of these guys. You know, John and Jay have been, Kate, we're just catching up. These guys are international leaders in this space, not just with the Pacific Coast Collaborative, but these two, and Kate's been a big part of this as well. The U.S. Climate Alliance, these subnational efforts, this MOU under 270 jurisdictions around the globe. It's a way of saying, and I'll close on this, don't fret. Don't be too anxious. I know we all turn on the nightly news and it's stressful. But these are the antidotes to that anxiety and stress. They're future-proofing, not just their states, but they're showing the way for the rest of the United States and folks around the rest of the globe. That should calm us. That should give us, just a little bit better sense of well-being. And so I'm here in that spirit of optimism, recognizing the headwinds of the moment, but recognizing the opportunity that we're paving and advancing here in just a few moments. As I ask now all the leaders of these remarkable states and provinces to come up to the stage, and we will update this MOU that hasn't been updated in 5 long years. Thank you all very, very much.
We'll just go backwards.
I got a lot of stuff here. Can I pass them up? I was a keg waiter. Hi, my name's John.
Usually there's somebody here to tell us what to do.
I'm happy to do that.
Okay, we're signing, right?
All right.
I'm signing.
You ready? You're signing?
I'm ready. How many we got? Just one? Just one. Okay. That's it. Why don't we go? We'll go this way.
Go to the left. We're going to the left.
We'll do this one to Gavin.
Can you handle that?
There you go.
Thank you, sir.
Oh, wow. You're doing like really big signature. Okay. There we go.
Yeah, no, I want to keep this on top. I want to keep it insertion on top.
Oh, it's like through the fog and through the smoke, right?
Blew into San Francisco Bay. That'd be a good story.
All right.
All right.
Shall we stand up
Let's stand up. You want to hold,
Good job.
Yeah, we'll just.
hold them like that? Okay. Like this? Like this.
Yeah. Let's do like
I feel like a little peanut here.
Mayor, get up here.
Give us a standing ovation.
Come on. Should we invite the Pacific Trust next?
Take the middle.
Come on up. Come on up.
Get
Chris,
trust.
Come on.
Yeah.
Come on.
Board, come on, Mark.
Come on.
Get up here.
Hello. Thank you. I always say London breed, so I was
Hang on
like,
tight.
I was thinking.
I'll be your anchor.
Thank you.
At least I didn't call you Governor Brown.
I love that. We need more Governor Browns in the world.
Thank you, guys.
Yes.
Good job.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Of course.
People-
If there's
people
Still
assume
can't believe
that
I was
we're-
so tough.
that is hilarious. Kathleen.
Yeah, I'm like,
if you guys need anything while you're in
That's a gala.
Governor, my I've always lived in a polluted community, and just want to say thank you that you are lifting this up because it's time. Yeah, I live by the 880, and the 580 made sure that all of us in the flatlands got it. Love it.
Well, we gotta deal with these oil companies trying to do a referendum on this.
Thank you so much.
Are we? Okay. Well, then we'll do that. We'll do that.
It took a lot of time to get there. At least the old adage, only Nixon could go to China, only a right-wing government could go there.
They're all here to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you.
You guys are not allowed to leave. You know, we're in this together.
Are we doing this here?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Governor, I have a question for you, Governor Newsom, talking about the timeline for the payments for the tax refunds that are going to be going out to Californians. Talk about the timeline. What do you think it will do for families who need it most? And, of course, it's happening as gas prices are going back up.
Well, 23 million Californians should expect checks in the mail starting Friday, tomorrow. It's the largest state tax refund in American history, $9.5 billion. Upwards of $1,050 rebates will be distributed direct deposit in millions of accounts, again, starting tomorrow. The process will unfold over the course of the next number of weeks. I don't think it could have come at a better time as it relates to rising gas prices and the ongoing stresses of rising costs across the spectrum. We recognize it's not the solution, but it comes, again, with a recognition of the stresses and the anxiety many Californians are facing, many Americans are facing. But couldn't be more proud of the legislature to afford us this opportunity. And I'll just close. It comes on the heels of having just distributed $9 billion additional dollars. So it's almost $20 billion of rebates just in the last 18 or so months that has gone out in the state of California. And we hope to do more with this windfall profits tax that we're proposing to go after big oil and big polluters.
Hey, Governor, Jeremy White with Politico. Thanks, as always. Speaking of that windfall oil profits tax, do you intend to call a special session so the legislature could get on this before January?
Yeah, we're making that determination in real time, and I'll let you know when it's made.
I guess in following up on that, I mean, for the inflation relief payment that's coming tomorrow, taxpayers had to wait 9 months for that because of, promises made early on this year. So what's your message to those who, if a special session isn't called, would have to wait January until the ball got rolling? It's a 2/3 measure. That's going to take a lot of convincing. What's your message to taxpayers there?
Well, we just passed the budget a few months ago. I couldn't be more proud that we were able to turn around those checks. So we promoted something. We delivered. 9.5 billion reasons. I think people should be appreciative that this state's recognizing the stress and strain that families are going through, and we're getting that money out in a very timely manner. As it relates to any windfall profits tax, it's novel. It hasn't happened in the United States at a subnational level. We just proposed it a matter of days ago, working with legislative leaders and organize around a strategy to get it done. I'll just leave it at that. I'm quite confident we can achieve the result intended, as we have with these other rebate checks, and very proud again of the partnership in the legislature. They get it, and they've been getting a lot done.
Governor Newsom, this is Josh Kane from the San Francisco Standard. We know climate change is obviously a real problem right now. Experts forecast things will get much worse in the future, and obviously warning signs were ignored, as you and others have said. San Francisco has its own major crises right now: severe housing shortage, rampant homelessness, and hundreds of people dying on the streets every year from drug overdoses. I wanted to ask if you saw these things coming during your time as mayor of San Francisco, and whether there's anything you would have done differently.
I haven't had the privilege to be mayor in well over a decade. I'm very pleased with the partnership and the collaborative spirit of Mayor Breed and all our hard work to address these issues. As you know, we haven't been shy on the issue of housing or homelessness, quite the contrary. We just sent a letter. Mayor, is she here? May not have been so pleased around getting our housing goals met here, not only in San Francisco, but other parts of the state. We created a new housing accountability unit. State of California, HCD, our housing community development agency, sent that letter to San Francisco in terms of the need and desire to see more housing built. We sued, as you know, Huntington Beach and put 46 other cities on notice as it relates to our strategies. I signed 38 bills last year, some of the most progressive and aggressive housing bills of any jurisdiction we know of in the country. Those aren't my words. New York Times just did a wonderful piece acknowledging some of that hard work. We want to see the results of that, those legislative efforts in terms of local housing production. As it relates to homelessness, you recall just 3.5 years ago, I made this point. When I became governor of California, it wasn't that long ago, we had no homeless strategy, we had no plan, and we were investing about $500 million statewide. Now we have strategy, plan, and we're investing $15.3 billion. Specific strategies on encampments, specific strategies on mental health, specific strategies on rapid rehousing, prevention across the spectrum. I am very pleased that we were able to work with the legislature to get this historic level of funding, and that will provide more support for mayors like Breed and others up and down this state. And I'm looking forward the next few years to seeing demonstrable results because of those investments.
We have one last question, Governor.
Governor Newsom, I know today the 4 province and the state signature the cooperation agreement is all from the West Coast of the Pacific. So do you have any comment with, have you ever considered to invite the East Coast of Pacific, sorry, my English is a little bit suck. And I mean, do you have ever considered invite the East Coast friends such as China?
I'm going to answer that, but I'd be remiss out of respect to these remarkable leaders that have engaged very collaboratively with China and other Asian nations. Perhaps, Governor Inslee, I know you and I spent a lot of time even together recently, Zoom call last year on this topic. Maybe you want to illuminate some of the work you've done, and I'll follow up after the 3 of them.
Well, we are eager to collaborate with any jurisdiction in the world, and in fact are doing so. We have multiple organizations doing that besides the Pacific Coast Collaborative. We have the U.S. Climate Alliance, which has 23 states that have all made some individual contribution that we helped establish with Governor Brown's leadership early in the decade. We are leading an effort both in Glasgow and then in Sharm el-Sheikh with what we call the supranationals. These are local organizations, states, provinces, cities, counties around the world. And the nations called us subnationals. We call ourselves supranationals. And the reason is because we can move faster than the nation states. So there are multiple provinces, including in Asia, that are moving faster than their nation states that they belong to. So we have consortiums across multiple boundaries. Now the Pacific Coast is moving fastest. We're moving faster than the U.S. Climate Alliance that has 23 states. Why? It's for the reasons that I indicated. We have a history of leadership, technological and cultural. We have a recognition that this is the #1 economic development program that has been spectacularly successful. Look, the #1 economies in the country are represented right here, these 4 leaders groups. In my state, we have decreased our carbon emissions by 40% per unit of GDP, while we have one of the most successful economies in the world. Same thing with my colleagues. So we want to pedal as fast as we can, and we're looking forward to working with anyone in the world today to do that.
Governor Brown from Oregon, I'll just respond. The joy of climate change is that each one of us can make a difference. Certainly by working together, we have a greater impact, but everyone in our daily lives and our daily activities can make a difference. I'm heading to Asia in a few short weeks to meet with our partners in Vietnam, Korea, and Japan. We will be sharing wonderful technologies from Oregon that will promote renewable energy. We will certainly be learning from our counterparts. And the joy of working with folks at the local level, whether it's a city, province, state, is that we have the ability to be innovative and creative. We can pilot projects. we can move rapidly, and we can make change fast. And so we are absolutely excited about working with anyone to tackle climate change, because this is an issue that faces each and every one of us across the entire world. Premier Horgan.
Thank you, Kate. And I just want to put some context on one of the earlier questions about homelessness, about housing, about the opioid crisis, about how we've all come out of a global pandemic. I mean, we need to contextualize this. The challenges that Californians are experiencing are similar to those in Oregon, similar to those in Washington, and very much like those that are happening in British Columbia. So these are not national crises. These are local crises that are proliferating, quite frankly, in every corner of the globe. The advantage we have is 4 jurisdictions that have a common view on the world. We have the Pacific Ocean at our back, and we have the mountains in our front, and opportunity wherever we look. But we can't just focus on the opportunity. We have to focus on those that may well be left behind as we all move forward. And if we do it together, we'll be able to address these challenges. But I'm always answering, the beauty of this is I'm in a different place than I am normally. The questions are exactly the same. I think we should learn from that. I think we should learn that not only do we have common heritage on unceded indigenous territories, but we all came from every part of the globe. I'm the son of an Irish immigrant. All of the rest of you, if you're not indigenous, came from somewhere else. And that's our strength. That was what the United States represented to the world and still does. And I'm very proud to stand with these 3 leaders in this spectacular city to say, yes, we have challenges, but we can overcome them as we have decade after decade now, centuries of habitation here, making the world a better place. 5 million souls in British Columbia in a sea of 8 billion by the turn of the year. We cannot solve the problems by ourselves, but I know together we can at least make some progress. And I want to acknowledge Rana Sarkar is here. I want to say Canada, which is part of where I come from. He's the Consul General for Northern California and Hawaii. We also have a Consul General in Southern California. We have one in Seattle as well. Canadians want to work with Americans. We want to collaborate. We want to take best practices wherever we find them and make a better world. What could be wrong with that? Why don't we do that?
Not following up after that. Any other questions? We're done. Well, thank you all again very, very much for taking the time to be out here. Well done, everybody. Thank you.
You got a nice state here.